Hello everyone, welcome back to Jungle Citizens. We have a truck full of trees and we need to get them all out and we need to get them planted. So you probably saw in the last episode that we did that little drive around looking for trees and plants in the nurseries, and this is what we're now left with. So we're going to get them all out and then we're going to show you what they are and why we bought them. Right. Straight away with plant number 1. This is Chrysophyllum cainito. This is known as a star apple or something like that. Now, it's a very beautiful, fast-growing tree. It's from Panama. It has these incredible rusty leaves in the back of the leaf. And it's a really amazing fruit tree. It grows very fast. Now, this is not a native species. You can see the environment we're in. This is our friend John's place, and he's growing kind of a food forest and also a native forest. So it's important to be able to combine the two, especially when you have these human-dominated landscapes. So we are putting in all different kinds of trees, not just natives. But this is the first one, Chrysophyllum cainito. And if I just turn it around, how mad is that? Now just imagine when this tree becomes 10, 15 meters high and you look up and you have these bronze leaves underneath the canopy. It's a really incredible impact plant. So yeah, this is tree number 1. Our next tree is this. This is Ficus auriculata, which is another one of our kind of favorite landscaping trees. It's a fig. It's called a big leaf fig or an elephant ear fig, and the leaves get huge. They get to this kind of a size. It's not a giant tree. It's sort of a medium-sized tree, and it spreads its crown, so it becomes very wide, which makes it a brilliant shade tree. In areas where there is enough rain and heat, they remain evergreen throughout the year. But if you live in a place that's more subtropical, where it drops to 6, 7, 8 degrees, it might lose its leaves in winter. But it's a beautiful tree. The fruits are edible and tasty, which is brilliant. And yeah, they're relatively fast growing. So if you need an area to have shade quickly and you plant this guy, within 2-3 years, you will be able to have meaningful shade that you can sit under to seek respite from the heat. The other thing about this tree, which is great, is that it grows from cuttings. So once you have a big tree in your garden, as long as you wait until the beginning of the rains, you can then cut sections of it and put it in the ground and it will grow. So in some areas of the world, this is actually used as a living fence. We use it more as a landscaping plant, and we bought 5 of them. Okay, this one. This is Garcinia. It's a mangosteen. Garcinia intermedia, I think. It's known as a lemon drop mangosteen. So this is one of the New World mangosteens, or the neotropical mangosteens. It's found in Central America as its native range, and it produces a small mangosteen-like fruit that is very, very sweet and tasty. So it is planted in Goa and in other areas as a very nice evergreen ornamental fruit-producing tree. So we got a few of these guys, and they look very nice, which is amazing. What's next? Let's go over here. Now here we have a couple of fun things, because this is not a nursery plant. This is actually, these are 2 wild trees here, you can see. So the reason we bought these is because they are native trees. This is Ficus racemosa, or cluster fig, which is actually quite a common tree. We have lots of it around. And it's just a bonus in this pot. The real tree that I wanted to buy is this one. Now this is I think, a young Ficus callosa. We'll have to check as it keeps growing what it turns into, but I'm pretty sure 99% it's Ficus callosa, which is an incredible, huge, relatively fast-growing evergreen tree species from this area. And it fits into this very cool little niche where it's like a secondary evergreen. So it will grow in more disturbed sites, it will grow in more open areas, and it helps to lock down that humidity in one of these secondary forests that wants to go back to evergreen. So this guy is incredibly important. It's a really cool species. The tree gets to be huge, it has buttress roots, and this is generally just a wicked little pot. If you imagine, right, we always talk about how important fig trees are. Here we have 2 fig trees, both of which produce fruit, in one tiny little pot. By us planting this within 10 years, we are going to be providing many kilos of fruit all throughout the year to all of the animals that appreciate it. So if one little pot can have one massive long-term impact on biodiversity, this guy is it. And you know what the best thing is? Because the actual nursery plant died, we got this pot for free. Right, what's next? Okay, this dude, this is an ornamental banana, I think. Now, if you guys go back and you watch the last episode where we were in the nursery, I think there's going to be a couple of shots of a very pink banana fruit or banana flower. That should be this. Again, it was actually another plant in here. I don't think the banana was supposed to grow, but I presume one of the seeds fell into the pot and the plant went. So we'll have to see. I think it's that. So this is going to be one of the landscaping plants. Right, what's next? This one, since we're on the bananas. This is known as a Welchii banana. So the banana fruit that we eat has a whole ton of different varieties. Now, the first thing is that bananas, they're an ancient species. They've been cultivated for a very long time. So there's separate cultivation events that have happened in South America and Africa, also here in South and Southeast Asia. So most of the bananas that we eat come from the domesticated South Asian variety, which is called Musa acuminata, if I'm not wrong. So this is one of the ones that were domesticated in this area, and it's locally known as Welchii. So Welchii is a very small banana. It creates very, very numerous fruits on one, I don't even know what they're called. What are these things called? A banana bunch. Yeah, lots of individual bananas on the bunch of bananas, and it becomes very big as a plant as well. It has really nice leaves, so it's a brilliant plant. And it tastes delicious if you like bananas, which I don't. Very interesting other thing about bananas. Almost all of the bananas we eat in the Western world are a variety called Cavendish, I think. And that's a really, like, most of the bananas that we eat, 90+%, because they're all from one variety, they're all clones. And because they're all clones, there's a big risk, actually, that these at some point could get wiped out, which has happened before. The last variety that we majoritatively ate, they got wiped out. So these kinds of heritage banana varieties that exist all over the world, that are grown locally and that have their own unique characteristics, are really, really important if in the future we want to continue having delicious bananas, and also if we want to start diversifying the bananas that we eat in the Western world, because frankly it's a little bit boring to only eat one type of banana, isn't it, when there are literally hundreds all over the world. Okay, next up we have this. I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this is. So if any of you guys watching can tell me what it is, that would be awesome. All we know is that it's apparently not something that grows into a tree, and it has a very nice flower. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on it. Generally, if you don't know what a plant is, you can only be 100% about it if it flowers. But maybe some of you guys can identify this and let us know what it is in the comments. That would be amazing if you can. So for now, we'll just call it unknown plant, I guess. Okay, next we have this guy. He's got very soft leaves, so you can see a lot of the leaves have been fried. That's because we drove it back in an open truck, which means that it had lots of wind and also sun on it, although I think this is the wind damage. This is also a plant that I don't know about. I'll have to research it, but we did see a large one in the nursery, and I think there's some footage of it, which will probably have been in that video. So maybe by the time that you're watching this, I'll already know what this is, and we'll be putting the name in it. But it's basically a small tree, and it gives some very massive bunches of reddish flowers. This one is a nutmeg tree. Nutmeg is Myristica fragrans. So this is native, if I'm not wrong, to, is it called the East Moluccas Islands, if I'm not wrong? But it's been in cultivation in India for a very, very long time. Now, we do have native nutmegs to here. They're those amazing Myristica swamp forests that we've probably talked about before, and we really want to do an episode on. But this is the cultivated variety that gives the nutmeg and the mace that we know of as a spice. It's a really, really nice looking tree. It's an evergreen tree. It requires a lot of water, and it requires shade when it's young at this kind of a size. So we're going to plant this in and amongst the bananas. And again, this is this kind of a plant that creates a value addition. If you're working in a small area, or as a farmer, you know, or an agriculturalist, of course, one of the key things that has to be thought about is revenue. And if a lot of the revenue that you're getting is from your produce, then these kind of high value production plants are really, really valuable. So this will form one of a few species that you're going to see as we take them out that have the potential to provide revenue in the long term. And we got lots of them. I think we got 8 or 10 of them, something like that. So I'm just going to take these guys all out. These are all nutmegs. Just come in here quickly and see this. That's the nutmeg seed. So that would have looked like a nutmeg, but obviously the plant has now come out, so you can see here as well. So these are seed-grown nutmegs, which for us is brilliant because it means that these can live for a really long time. If you get a plant that is grafted, it's going to give you fast results, but they're not going to be sustained over the long term. And the yields in general end up being smaller in the long run as well. These kind of trees, they have the potential to grow into exactly what nature wants them to, which is a pretty big evergreen forest tree. And that means in the long run, these are going to live for a long time and they're going to produce a lot of fruit. Okay, next. This is a rambutan. So rambutan is in the same family as lychee. It's again relatively fast growing, an evergreen species. It grows very well here. It's native to Southeast Asia, but again the value of the produce is very high. So this is a plant that per kilo of the fruits will cost around 200, 300, maybe even 400 rupees per kilo. So we've got a couple that are seed grown like this, and we've also got a couple that are grafted because it gives us those short-term gains that we were just talking about, but at the same time we have the kind of long-term potential as well.
You want to tell why you are scratching so much?
Why am I scratching so much? So yeah, you guys might have noticed that I look a little bit like a monkey these days and I'm scratching all around. I will show you why I'm scratching so much. It's because of this. Now, before you guys go and think that I'm some kind of a crazy disease monster, I'm not. This is a tick bite, or these are tick bites, and they came from a site visit we did last week. So we went to see a site that's in the forests of Maharashtra, and in order to assess whether it's possible to do a restoration there and to help an organization develop an eco incubator, an eco village, whatever. So we went to the site, we had a look around, we tried to establish what species are there and what the good kind of plan would be to develop this site in a way that is genuinely eco-friendly. And in doing so, I got bitten by hundreds of ticks, which is one of the things about the northern Western Ghats. It's incredibly full of ticks in the degraded areas, not so much in the primary areas. So I am full in all of the places, which is why if you see me scratching on any part of my body, I apologize sincerely. It's the ticks. And they've all gone, by the way. I have no more ticks on me. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit reactionary to it. The ticks like me, and my body really doesn't like them. One more very important thing, guys. Our YouTube analytics is telling us that less than 25% of you are subscribed. So if you are one of those that hasn't yet subscribed but is enjoying our content, please press that button, because it makes a massive difference for us. And it allows us to have an ever greater impact. And that means that you guys are making a direct impact on the ground. Next is this little guy. He's pretty cute, isn't he? This is a true mangosteen. So this is Garcinia mangostina. Again, it's a beautiful evergreen tree. And as I'm sure you guys know, it produces an incredibly tasty fruit. It's actually considered to be one of the tastiest, if not the tastiest fruits, the king of fruits. Again, not native to this area. I think it starts being native in Sri Lanka, so it's very close to this ecoregion, but certainly Southeast Asia. Gets to be 20, even 30 meters in height. Requires a good amount of water, a reasonable amount of rainfall that is spread throughout the year. So that makes it a little bit difficult here unless you have a kind of closed canopy system where they can grow. But the fruit is incredibly tasty. It's also, of course, incredibly expensive, which again means that having this plant in your system can generate you some profit in the long run, as well as, of course, giving you an incredibly tasty fruit. So that's that. And we've got a couple of those. We have to be very careful with the planting of that, because it is a very tetchy plant. If you put it in too much sun, it doesn't like it. If you put it in full shade, it doesn't grow. So it needs to be given this kind of very perfect, bright, indirect light, a little bit of shade throughout the day, you know, and then they can be very happy. And once they get established, they can really grow fast. And at that point, they can take full sun. So you really have to get the planting position right with those guys. And this is a slightly bigger mangosteen. It's a very beautiful plant. It really is. And again, what you'll notice is, regardless of whether the trees are native or not, primarily everything that we're getting is evergreen, because this is an ecosystem that wants to have a permanently closed canopy, because we experience these extremes of heavy rainfall and then really powerful, hot, dry sun. In order to mitigate the effect of this kind of extreme imbalance, what nature does is it creates a canopy. And that canopy here would have been evergreen. So what we try to do is emulate that, because it ends up creating the ecosystem that wants to be here, and it gives us shade. You've seen this one before. This is the Chrysophyllum cainito. Ooh, look. So be careful when you're weeding, guys. I'm just sort of doing that without paying attention. There's a nice fern there, and we always like to keep ferns. The grasses we don't really want, but this, I think, is a young fig tree. Again, it could be Ficus callosa, Ficus nervosa. When it's that young, it's difficult to tell because they kind of all look the same. So let's see. But yes, be very careful with your weeding, because you never know what hitchhikers might be there in the plant. And that is a good hitchhiker. So we've done this one already. Okay, next. Look, there's another hitchhiker here, and I don't know what it is. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what it is. But it, again, looks like a kind of evergreen forest tree. Don't know whether it's native or not, might be ornamental. Anyway, this guy's another rambutan. We've already shown this to you, but this one is a grafted one. So this is one that will give us fruits fairly quickly, and the other one will take a little bit longer. Maybe we can just show you quickly how we know it's grafted. Come and have a look in here. So this is the rootstock. The rootstock is essentially a tree that is generally related to the graft. And the graft is taken from a mature adult tree and is then bound to the rootstock plant. And that then creates an exact clone of the mother tree, which means that the fruits that you get will be exactly the same as the fruits of the clone plant or of the cloned plant. So actually you should probably look in here as well. Look, this is the seed grown one. So you can see there's a uniform stem here. It's all a similar kind of size and thickness, and there's no obvious grafting point. So this is grown from seed. Now the difference basically is going to be this guy will take you 6 to 8 years to give you a fruit. This guy will take you maybe only 2 or 3 years to give you a fruit. But this plant in the long run has the potential to live longer, to grow larger and stronger. Yeah, for sure stronger. Now, obviously the question remains, because we have engaged in the genetic lottery, how good will the fruits be? But, well, it's a lottery worth playing, frankly, if we want to make things for the very long term. Next. Oh, look, that's my dad.
Hello.
Who's made his first sneaky introduction to the video. So my dad's come over from Germany, and he's going to be with us for 2.5, 3 weeks. So you might see a little bit more of him. Right. This lump. This is a big one. No. This is Saraca asoca. It's a native evergreen species. It is found generally along the riverbanks of the forest areas of the Western Ghats, as well as then going into Southeast Asia. It is known as the Sita Ashoka, so it's actually a holy plant in Hinduism. It's an important ecological species for the area, and it's just very beautiful. It's really a beautiful, beautiful tree. So when the new leaves come out, they end up unfolding and they come out in these incredible colours. It's not a very easy plant to find, which is why we've gone and bought 5 of them straight out. So very, very happy with this one. Incredible landscaping, ornamental tree, evergreen, native, and also auspicious. Next. Okay, now here we have our first urgent planting. Oh, it's bare root because they'd been in the nursery so long, so we're going to have to plant this one very quickly. But this is an extremely sad example of Clerodendron, what is it? Clerodendron wallichii, there you go. It grows from root nodes. So this is a plant that's probably been in the nursery for 2 or 3 years and just got swallowed up. And it rooted itself into the ground. The plastic pot completely disintegrated. But hopefully this is going to survive with us, and it still looks relatively decent. They're quite strong plants. We'll have to put it straight into the ground. This has to be the priority. But very beautiful landscaping plant. It gives these incredible white flower drops that can sometimes be up to 1 meter or 2 long. It stays evergreen throughout the year. It's a very hardy ornamental, and the flowers will last even 2 or 3 months sometimes. So very happy to have found this. Hope they survive. The great thing if they do survive is that they produce root suckers. That then means you get lots of new plants. So as long as you get a couple happy, you then have a continual supply of this plant. This is a rubber tree. Now this again is one of these species that's given as native in India, but it's not native to this part of India. It starts being native in northeast India and then goes into Southeast Asia. Now many of you guys will recognize this plant. This is the rubber plant. It's extremely common as a house plant actually. And it also grows into a massive strangling fig banyan tree if it's given the space. So in fact, if you go to Meghalaya in northeast of India, it's this incredible cloud forest state in northeast India, they use these trees to make living root bridges. So what they do is they plant or they find the wild tree on either side of a canyon or a river, and then they spend literally decades slowly weaving together the aerial roots that they create until they have a bridge that is formed from a living tree that allows them to cross over, which is just incredible, because if the bridge is made from a living tree, it is constantly adapting and growing. So you don't have to spend the money, you just have to spend the time. And in the end, you have the most incredible example of humans and nature combining to create amazing things. So this is one of the more cultivated varieties because it has this very dark leaf, but obviously it has a massive impact in a planted environment. So if we're going to be working in these very human garden environments, this is one of the plants that can make a very strong impact. There you go. Right, next. What have we got? This is another Clerodendron paniculatum, but it has still got its pot, which is good. One more crazy thing about this, look at that. That's a lichen, and a lichen is one of these incredibly mad symbiotic relationships between a plant and a mushroom, probably one of the oldest known examples of these kind of complex natural relationships that occur between two very distinct species that helps both of them. I don't know very much about them, I have to be honest, but they're very, very interesting, cool things that I need to learn more about. So maybe in the future we'll do a lichen episode if I know more about it. Okay, next. What have we got? Superstar tree time. This, everyone, is Ficus nervosa, which is probably one of my favorite trees of all time. So this tree is a 35 to 40 meter massive buttress rooting rainforest evergreen tree. It's an incredible tree. It looks remarkable when you see an adult one, and is not grown as an ornamental plant. It was not supposed to be here. I'm absolutely confident that another plant was growing here and a seed of this tree fell into it, and essentially they kept looking after it because they thought, oh, this looks nice, I don't know. So it accidentally has been cultivated for quite a while by this nursery, and we were fortunate enough to bump into it. So what this is actually is a very old tree. Like if you look at how thick that is, it's probably, I don't know, I mean, considering the fact that it's in a pot, it's probably at least 4 or 5 years old. When we get this out of the pot and planted in the ground, its potential for growth is way more than a young seedling. And because it's been grown in pretty much full sun, which is not something that this tree particularly likes, to be honest, but it seems to have adapted to it somehow, it means that we can plant it in a very sunny area, which we wouldn't normally do with a sapling of this species. So that's really probably one of the best finds. I don't even know how much we paid for it in the end. We just bought everything outright, but we'll be planting this one in a sunny area where we need to get some good forest cover, and is a native, which is great. Guys, this is cacao, and we're thrilled to have found it. It's again a really beautiful tree, and of course it is a value-adding species to your garden or your plantation or whatever it is. So if you've been watching us for a while, you will have seen the cacao plants that we had in our rainforest biome in our last place. Those are plants that we had actually been looking after from seed. We seed grew them ourselves. We had them they were maybe 5 or 6 years old. They were just starting to produce flowers and fruits, which is the first time in our care that we've had cacaos with flowers. And then, as you know, we had to leave. So now we are starting from scratch with some more. And hopefully, because this is being planted in John's place, we will definitely be able to see the fruits and flowers. So stay tuned, because in 3 or 4 years, we will show you some cacaos. Okay. Oh yeah, and then we have got one more. This is another hitchhiker. Ta-da! Oh, and there's something else there. That's going to be something good as well, I think. So this is Macaranga peltata. This is again a wild species. This is an incredibly important pioneer tree. It grows very fast. It maintains its leaves almost all year, and in some cases all year. It's one of the most important trees to colonize a disturbed or a degraded patch of forest. They can grow in really unhappy, difficult environments, and they basically create the environment and introduce the species of birds, of fungus, to bring back the forest. So it's like the first responder, the ambulance of nature. It comes in, tries to create a canopy and the perfect environment to allow for the rainforest species to come up. So it's not an easy one to find, and that's why we took that. Okay. Wait, bananas. And that's it. So guys, we've shown you all the plants now. You've seen what all we've got out of here. Mostly all trees, a couple of ornamentals. The next thing is price. How much do you guys think we paid for all of this? Now, everywhere in the world, the price of plants are very different. Here in India, if you go to the wrong nursery, you can pay a lot of money. We ended up for all of this paying 12,000 rupees. So 12,000 rupees works out about $150, 150 euros-ish, something like that. You'll have to go on Google and check it. But that's how much it costs, which is pretty good, no? I think. Anyway, the next step is we have to get these all planted, because as you can see, some of them are a little bit unhappy. So we're going to get right off and get started with that. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we will be forever thankful. And that's it. Let's go to the planting.